silver it blew through 50 not that long ago, and now it's trading a little above $60 an ounce. So we're getting up into nominal all-time record high prices for silver. Gold and silver have outperformed the S&P 500 for the past 25 years so far in this century. And they're just coming off 3 phenomenally good quarters. And we're almost done with the fourth quarter now, which is going to be the best quarter ever for gold and silver miners as a group.
Silver hits $60 as yen carry trade unravels. John Rubino warns Japan's 10-year yield spiked from negative to 2%, making multi-trillion trade unviable. We don't know who's over-leveraged. BRICS launches the unit, 40% gold-backed currency. Miners poised for historic Q4 earnings, best quarter ever, as margins explode with stable costs. Generalist money flooding tiny mining sector. Physical gold, silver plus high-quality miners equals only resilience play for chaotic decade ahead. Crypto tether. Buying gold like medium-sized central bank. January earnings reports will reveal blowout numbers. 2026 could be mining's best year ever. Subscribe to Fine Metals for further updates.
All kinds of positive things are happening for precious metals. A regular person can't do that kind of analysis and make sense of it. Because, how do you, sitting in Kansas City or someplace, judge a Yukon-based gold mine and know whether it's going to actually become a mine instead of just a few holes in the ground or whatever? Don't even try, because you'll be wrong so much of the time that you'll lose faith in yourself and it won't work. But on the other hand, buy the big names. You can, somebody who doesn't want to do much work but wants to be exposed to the sector can just buy GDX or something like that. Just one of the big ETFs that buy the miners, and then just ride it. And you won't make as much as a portfolio of undiscovered gems, but you'll still get a big part of the overall move of the sector. You just said the Japanese central bank has kind of been like a global central bank running QE, in other words, feeding liquidity into the whole global economy. And so, yeah, like you said, that allows for massive misallocation of resources. There's so much malinvestment out there that was based on the fact that Japanese yields were zero, potentially destabilizing for the whole global economy, because we don't know where that money is. We don't know who is over leveraged and therefore can't handle unwinding their part of the carry trade. So we're going to find out in the coming year. But right now, it's just this big, scary thing that's waiting to happen. So it's very possibly one of the headline stories for 2026. 90s, when Japan had a massive real estate bubble, really bigger than our real estate bubble of the 2000s. And it was potentially catastrophic for the Japanese economy. So the Japanese government ramped up spending and pushed interest rates down to extremely low levels for financial players from around the world to go to Japan and borrow yen at super low interest rates. Then they take those yen and they go to someplace like the US and invest them, or cash them out and invest them in, say, treasury bonds that are yielding 3 or so percentage points more. The US Fed started easing almost 2 years ago. And in that time, long-term interest rates in the US, which should go down when the Fed is easing, right? They've gone up, which means the bond markets do not trust the Fed to maintain the value of the dollar. And so they don't think it's a good investment to lend money to the U.S. government for only like 3% or whatever. So they're requiring higher interest rates in order to lend to the U.S. government. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing that's happening in Japan. And it's basically the same thing that's happening to all the major governments of the world, with just a couple of exceptions like Russia and Switzerland right now. But everybody's in the same boat. They borrowed way too much money. Countries too. That's something that I meant to mention to you before we went live, but forgot. But they finally released their gold-backed currency. Because that's something the BRICS countries have been buying lots of gold for years and years. And people have been speculating that, they're doing that so they can create a gold-backed currency that operates separately from the dollar. They released a currency called the unit, or they introduced a currency called the unit that is 40% backed by gold and 60% backed by a basket of BRICS country currencies. And so that's the start of something that could become a much bigger deal going forward. The banks of the world are still buying. India is now, or starting in 2026, it's going to allow people to use silver jewelry as collateral for loans, as a way of, getting that stored money out of people's vaults and closets or wherever, and circulating into the economy. And the BRICS countries just literally released a currency that is backed by gold. So stuff is happening. Oh, and crypto has discovered gold. You got the big crypto companies like Tether, which create meme coins. Is that what they're called?
Stable coins.
Yes, yeah. Okay, who do that. And they're choosing gold as one of the assets that they use to back their coins. And Tether has now bought so much gold that it is in the category of a small to medium-sized central bank costs now. So when gold and silver go up and their costs remain reasonably stable, their margins just blow out. So a lot of the gold and silver miners are making dramatically more money right now than they have been in the recent past. I think there's a decent chance that the first part of 2026 is going to be one of the best times ever for the mining stocks. So we'll see. But I think this could be a lot of fun for people who are close to fully invested in the highest quality mining stocks. So it's not just investing, although that's a big part of it. The commodities companies just look great, and they're a good way to protect yourself against chaos in the financial markets. But there's an awful lot of lifestyle things that go along with being prepared for chaos, because you want to be thinking in terms of resilience. And financially, that means gold and silver, physical gold and silver, and then the mining stocks. But you also want to make yourself indispensable at work, find a way to maybe grow part of your food. There's 1,000 things on that list that fall under the heading of prepping. And you want to stay as healthy as possible. All of the rest of this stuff does not matter in the least if you're sick. When countries destroy their currencies, you get other countries trying to cope with the fact that you're messing up your currency by avoiding dealing with your currency. So that's what's happening to the dollar. And the BRICS countries are taken together pretty big. They've got massive natural resources and a fair bit of financial clout. So that, again, like the yen carry trade being a real thing that we need to pay attention to, the BRICS new currency is also a real thing that might be a big deal in 2026, might be something that plays a role in the unraveling of the global financial system.